What if all you needed was 0.1 Bitcoin? It might sound crazy in 2025, but in his latest keynote, Michael Saylor explained why he still believes Bitcoin is a 100x opportunity. He predicts it could eventually reach $10 million per coin, making owning even a fraction truly life-changing. Saylor believes that Bitcoin hitting $10 million per coin is possible, driven not by hype, but by the collective productivity of nations, corporations, and innovators all building on top of it. In this video, we'll break down Michael Saylor's latest hyper-bullish outlook, why he believes institutional adoption is just beginning, and how Bitcoin could become the global base layer for all digital wealth. And before we jump into it, just a quick reminder, only a small percentage of you watching are actually subscribed. If you're getting value from the videos, hit that subscribe button. It's free, it supports the channel, and you can always change your mind later. Now, let's break down exactly how Michael Saylor believes this transformation unfolds.
The idea of tokenized currency is money at the speed of light 1 billion times a second between computers. And the idea of digital property was property rights to 8 billion people that can't be deprived of. And the idea of global was a network of the highest common denominator. The most profound idea is I buy Bitcoin in Arkansas, I bury my Bitcoin hardware wallet in the ground behind my house, I go to sleep for 30 years, and I wake up and I find that an entrepreneur in Beijing and Singapore and Abu Dhabi and London found, a dude that's Saylor, in Miami Beach comes up with a way to buy hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin, drives the price to $10 million a coin, and I got rich without understanding what they did, without knowing anything about them. Maybe I get rich because someone in Russia, China, and the Middle East, and Nigeria did something that makes me rich. That's never going to happen to you if you just invested in Arkansas real estate or Arkansas timber or Arkansas art or Arkansas financial assets. The idea that there's a global economy that's conspiring by any means necessary to make you rich is like a first in human history. Very powerful. Now, what did the crypto economy not have? Okay, here's what it didn't have. It didn't have legitimacy. It didn't have corporations. It didn't have banks. It had no support from insurance companies. It didn't have adult supervision. It didn't have a lot of common sense. People did stuff in the industry that's just crazy.
Bitcoin represents a turning point in how value is created and stored. It is not an investment that depends on management, performance, or policy. It is a network that allows anyone, anywhere to hold a piece of global productivity itself. A person can buy Bitcoin, secure it on a hardware wallet, and step away for decades while the combined effort of builders, miners, and innovators around the world increases its worth. That process does not require permission or participation. It happens through the natural growth of a global system aligned toward one outcome: appreciation driven by human progress. This new form of property is digital, incorruptible, and immune to regional collapse. Traditional assets are bound to geography. Land can be seized, businesses can fail, currencies can inflate, but Bitcoin remains accessible and verifiable through energy and code. Its value is protected by the same forces that power the internet and modern computing. Every new application that relies on this network adds to its strength, and every participant, no matter how distant, contributes to the wealth of all holders. That is what makes Bitcoin distinct from every prior store of value. Real estate and commodities grow only through local demand. Bitcoin grows through global adoption. It transforms the productivity of millions into collective financial power. This structure means anyone from a student saving a few dollars to a corporation holding billions is positioned on the same playing field of digital capital. With adoption accelerating and infrastructure maturing, the groundwork for a worldwide consensus is forming. The next phase of this evolution reveals how the idea of Bitcoin as a digital commodity has taken hold across industries, governments, and institutions.
What we can see now is a new consensus forming globally. And I don't think you could have said this 12 months ago. Literally in the past 12 weeks, I believe there is a consensus that's forming and a set of shared ideas that are emerging in the industry, and I'm excited to share them with you. So with that, let's just start discussing all the the basis of crypto ideas. The first big idea was a digital commodity, the idea of an asset without an issuer. That was the Bitcoin dream, peer-to-peer cash. Something that you could own through possession of private keys, something you could transfer without asking anybody's permission, something that existed apart from a bank, from a corporation, from a government. That was Satoshi's dream. That idea of a digital commodity, an asset without an issuer, has spawned extraordinary enthusiasm and excitement. It is, in essence, the basis of the entire Bitcoin movement. But there are a lot of other nuances, a lot of other ideas that actually came to the forefront along the way over the past 15 years. One of them is not just the idea of a digital commodity, but what does it mean to have a digital scarcity? I can create an asset without an issuer. Silver and gold and timber and soybeans meet that description, but they're not scarcities. I can create an asset without an issuer that has an inflation rate of 5% a year ad infinitum. It would meet the requirement of a digital commodity, but it would not be a digital scarcity.
The world is beginning to agree on what Bitcoin truly is. After more than a decade of skepticism and fragmentation, a shared understanding has started to form across the financial landscape. Bitcoin is no longer viewed simply as an experiment or a speculative token. It has become recognized as a digital commodity, an asset with no issuer, no central control, and no dependency on any government or corporation. It exists through the private keys that grant ownership and the proof of work that protects its supply. This idea, first introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto, laid the foundation for an entirely new class of money. True digital scarcity has never existed before. Commodities like silver or oil can always be extracted in greater quantities, but Bitcoin's total supply is fixed at 21 million units. That limit transforms it into something beyond a commodity. It becomes an incorruptible ledger of value. Every transaction, every coin, and every block carries mathematical certainty. The result is a system where inflation, confiscation, or manipulation are structurally impossible. Over time, that predictability has turned Bitcoin into the hardest form of money humanity has ever produced. This clarity has created momentum. Large financial institutions are now adapting their frameworks to include Bitcoin as a legitimate store of value. Governments that once opposed it are studying how to integrate it into monetary systems. Even traditional banks are offering custody and credit services built around it. The recognition of scarcity is evolving into adoption, and adoption is evolving into standardization. As this shift continues, Bitcoin's foundation grows stronger while the rest of the digital asset space seeks definition. The next stage of this transformation introduces a new concept, the emergence of Bitcoin as the base layer for global digital capital. And if you want to stay ahead of these signals and know exactly when the market's heating up or when it's giving you those rare buying windows, I break it down every day in the Crypto Nutshell, my free 5-minute daily crypto newsletter. It's built to give you quick, actionable insights so you can make smarter decisions without spending hours buried in charts or headlines. You'll get clear signals on when to buy, when to take profits, and the latest news that could move markets, all delivered straight to your inbox. Just click the first link in the description, enter your email, and you're in. Let's go back to the video.
This is probably the most important thing I'm going to say right now, which is the world, the entire digital assets economy is evolving, and I think there's a global consensus building that Bitcoin is digital capital. The right technology base for digital capital is proof of work. It is secured by physics, by energy. And if you want to create a scarcity, if you want to create a global commodity of scarcity that can be used as a capital base, you're going to want to use physics to secure it. It's the most robust, most powerful, hardest to tamper with, least fragile way to establish a digital asset in the world. There's maybe a dozen, well-known cryptos that use proof of work. There's one that is 100 times more successful than everything else. That one is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has emerged as the digital capital base of the entire crypto economy. It's emerging as the digital capital base of the world. What's the killer application for a Bitcoin treasury company? It's to issue digital credit, right? Instead of issuing credit on gold, which is how the world ran for 300 years, now we're going to issue credit on digital capital. Digital credit on digital capital. That's one branch of this industry. How big is it? Hundreds of trillions of dollars big. Very big. What does it compete with? Real estate, art, gold, private equity, public equity, bonds held as a store of value. All wealth, right? That is a branch, and that is going to grow.
Bitcoin has become the anchor of the digital economy. Among thousands of tokens and projects, it stands as the single network secured by energy and physics rather than promises or governance. That distinction gives it permanence. The proof-of-work system that powers Bitcoin transforms raw energy into incorruptible value, creating a digital form of capital that cannot be reversed or edited once established. This is what separates it from every other asset in the crypto space. Most rely on corporate structures or teams of developers. Bitcoin relies on immutable mathematics and the expenditure of real energy. That security foundation turns Bitcoin into the digital equivalent of land, the bedrock on which new financial systems are built. Over time, this foundation allows for the creation of digital credit markets backed by Bitcoin itself. Instead of issuing loans based on gold or fiat reserves, future institutions can issue credit against provable, transparent digital capital. The scale of such an economy is immense. Every major asset class, from real estate to art to bonds, represents a store of value. If even a fraction of that wealth migrates to a Bitcoin-based system, the market could reach into the hundreds of trillions of dollars. This progression marks the start of a new financial architecture. Bitcoin serves as collateral, the base layer of trust, while higher layers can facilitate lending, payments, and complex economic activity. It mirrors the transformation gold once brought to global finance, only now it operates at the speed of modern technology. With Bitcoin established as digital capital, the next frontier extends beyond currency and credit.
So people say, well, what's going on with Ethereum and Solana and the rest of these crypto assets? And there, what you see now, and you hear it in the words of Paul Atkins, he says, I look forward to a world where we tokenize securities on chain. Okay, what's happened is there's an emerging consensus that, in fact, the proper way to tokenize a security or a real-world asset is on a chain, a smart chain, and there are three that are well-known today. There's BNB, Binance Smart Chain. Binance has 270 million customers. There's Solana, and there's Ethereum. Now, there are other chains that are emerging, right? If you talk to the people at Solana, they'll say, we're faster and better than Ethereum. And if you talk to the people at BNB, they'll say, well, we do more than Solana does. And then there'll be all the crypto entrepreneurs, Sui, and they'll say, well, we're better than Solana. We're the next generation. So how are you going to tokenize a security? And by that, I mean a share of Apple stock or a share or tokenize a currency like the US dollar or the peso or the euro. How are you going to tokenize a brand? And here I'm talking, Joe Rogan coin or Katy Perry token, We call them meme coins in the crypto era. Trump coin, meme coin, such and such coin, it has no functionality. Well, let me tell you why it had no functionality. It had no functionality because it had no legitimate corporate or celebrity backers behind it, because there was a hostile regulatory attack on the entire idea. There's nothing constructive. Now think about this for a second. What happens when you have legitimate companies, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, legitimate celebrities, Katy Perry, Joe Rogan, with legitimate products issuing a digital token? Well, at that point, it becomes a digital product. A digital product, like I've tokenized my country club membership. I've tokenized my fan club membership. Well, what am I going to get? I just get Katy Perry token? No, I get front row seats to every Katy Perry token for every Katy Perry concert for life. Huh? Yeah, I get front row tickets for life. Okay, well, that sounds like an asset.
The tokenization of assets is reshaping the financial landscape. What began as a fringe idea has evolved into one of the most important technological shifts in modern markets. The concept is simple. Real-world assets, company shares, currencies, and even brand memberships can now exist on public blockchains. What was once paper-based or locked behind institutions is becoming programmable and transferable with complete transparency. This change has created a competition among networks capable of hosting this new layer of value. Ethereum, Solana, and Binance Smart Chain have each built ecosystems supporting tokenized securities, stable currencies, and corporate products. Together, they form the infrastructure for the next stage of digital ownership. The difference now is legitimacy. In previous years, many of these assets lacked proper backing or regulatory clarity. Most tokenized ideas existed only as speculative ventures without corporate or institutional support. That period is ending. Established companies and well-known brands are preparing to issue digital tokens tied to real products and experiences. Imagine a McDonald's loyalty token that grants lifetime meal rewards or a music token offering guaranteed front-row access to concerts. These are not hypothetical futures, but early examples of how brands are testing blockchain-based ownership models. When large organizations adopt tokenization, the result is not a trend. It becomes a structural shift in how value circulates through the economy. Ownership expands from financial assets to memberships, rights, and experiences. The network effects of that expansion naturally converge toward Bitcoin as the settlement layer. Every tokenized product, whether built on Ethereum or Solana, ultimately depends on a stable, incorruptible form of collateral beneath it. As tokenization spreads and legitimacy grows, the digital asset industry moves closer to its institutional phase.
The entire digital assets industry is approaching the end of year one of institutional adoption. If it's like you're at the end of the first year when everybody agreed to use alternating current electricity. Don't let anybody tell you that all the good ideas have been implemented. Don't let them tell you everything's mature, right? And spend your time thinking about how to construct beautiful new products and services. How are you going to empower 8 billion people, 400 million companies? Now you can put together the companies with the celebrities, with the brands, with the technology, right? There is a 4-year time frame during which there's a ferocious, innovative opportunity available to all of us. Some people are going to shirk it, right? You're going to have traditionalists who will say AI is dangerous, digital assets are risky, we don't want to touch any of those, and they'll brag about it proudly. You shouldn't be mad at them. You should be delighted because they are going to transfer all of their money and power and influence to you.
The digital asset industry has entered its first true year of institutional adoption. The early chaos of speculation and experimentation has given way to structured capital, regulated infrastructure, and the participation of the world's largest corporations. The shift resembles the moment when alternating current electricity became the global standard, a breakthrough that seemed experimental one year and indispensable the next. Bitcoin and the networks built around it are now reaching that same turning point. The institutions entering today are not just chasing profits, they are building products, services, and entire divisions to operate within this new economy. Banks are constructing custody platforms, payment companies are integrating blockchain rails, accounting firms are developing frameworks for tokenized reporting. For the first time, the system is beginning to resemble an organized financial ecosystem, with Bitcoin sitting at its core. This phase opens a 4-year window of unprecedented opportunity for entrepreneurs and investors who recognize where the world is heading. Those who hesitate will fall behind. Many traditional investors continue to dismiss digital assets as risky or unproven. Their refusal to adapt will not protect them, it will isolate them. Capital always seeks efficiency, and the efficiency of blockchain-based finance is unmatched. The longer the old guard resists, the more power flows toward those who build within this new framework. Every cycle of innovation has followed this same pattern. The few who recognize the paradigm early accumulate massive influence before the rest of the market catches up. As institutional infrastructure matures, Bitcoin's dominance strengthens, providing the trust layer for every digital transaction and credit system that follows. This moment represents not the end of the revolution, but the true beginning of a global wealth transfer from the complacent to the visionary, from traditional capital to digital capital. Anyway, guys, that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.